What happens when the heavy hitter come together? The neutral zone with your host, Bird Gang representative. What happens when the heavy hitter come together? The neutral zone with your host, Bird Gang representative Casual E and Sean McConnell from Casual Sports. Me, Jay Adams, and NFL vet Ed Smith from Easy Sports Talk. Buckle up for 60 minutes of NFL football previews and pick'ems. Hold tight as we preview this week's games with in-depth analysis and opinion and a flavor all our own. Bragging rights are on the line with the neutral zone pick'em trophy up for grabs. It's the neutral zone. Lace them up. It is. Goodness, I was about to say we heard from the Cardinals, man.
Come on.
Zoning out, man. It is the neutral zone. It is the neutral zone. We do this every week. Well, at least we try to do it every week during the football season. Man. My name is Javon J. Love Adams, and typically in this seat is the one and only Ed Easy Smith. He is not joining us this week, but shout out to Ed. And then the gentleman that will be running in here in a few minutes is Earl Casual E. Burnett. And the one that puts it all together is Sean McConnell. What's good, man?
Man, I'm good. I know we got people in rain delays. It's been what, like 5-6 weeks? It's been brutal. We've all been getting tested. Like I said, we're on IR.
What happens when the heavy hitter come together? The neutral
zone.
This is how we do it. So let me get sit a little bit like this and do it like that. So, all right. So now, Sean, I'm gonna let you, as you get comfy in your seat, I'm going to let you pull up the numbers. You ran away with this year. So what we do is we are a football pick'em show. So this show runs every Thursday and during the football season. And so it's a football pick'em show. So we pick the games and we break it down into 4 different segments. So the first segment are games that for various reasons for me I find to be interesting and compelling in some way. So we talk about those. That's the top of the pyramid, so to speak, top of the food chain. And then on the second segment, since we are based in the Valley of the Sun, we base it on the Arizona Cardinals, and so we devote that entire segment to the Cardinals. The third segment, kind of that second tier of games with different that are interesting in different ways. So we talk about those. And then the fourth segment, those are essentially the also rans. They're the leftovers, so to speak. And so
garbage games.
That's our quick hitter segment that we do. So again, we're a football pick'em show, so we pick the games, we talk about the games, but as we keep track of the wins and losses, and so they get the trophy. What we got the trophy at? Is it right there in the middle? Right there in the middle.
Home's gonna be at the end of the season, man.
So in the inaugural season of the Neutral Zone, it was one.
This is David Johnson, and you're listening to the Neutral Zone. Lace them up.
So this season, Sean McConnell decided to take the lessons learned from the master and apply those lessons. It was funny because Ed would preach the same things over and over again. He would never listen to pay attention. And so what ended up happening was that Sean took those lessons and applied them, and he will ultimately be the victor of this season. So congratulations to Sean. So we definitely want to say that we still fight the good fight as we do this. And so as you're listening and watching this, and we appreciate it, please tell a friend about what we do. We have a good time with it. We over time and I think it was very quick, we became very fast friends, and so we enjoyed this time when we were able to get together, especially when we're braving the elements and life happens and all these things, because we're adults and we do adulting things. But so Sean, without further ado, let's get to it, man. Well, if you want to if you have it up on your wonderful technology, go ahead and give a recap.
Man, I have it up. I'm printing it out week to week. I'm putting it on my bathroom mirror. Sorry about the feedback, by the way, everyone. I got to blame iTunes for a second before I get into the
It's okay.
iTunes likes to take the intro and then play everything else after it. And it's so annoying when you try to run a show. I really apologize. This is the finale. We should be better than this. That's my bad. That's my bad.
It's moving parts.
Moving parts. A lot of moving parts. So we'll go last to first because I like going last to first when I'm not last. Right. We have Casual E, the man who's stuck in the rain delay, with 113, and we gifted him what? 10 points?
10. I think you were kind enough to want to gift him 10 points.
We're gonna gift him. We got the Christmas tree going. We got the foam finger Christmas tree. Yes. I'm in the giving spirit. I'm wearing red. Like, I'm good to go. We'll call it 123.
I think you might be gang affiliated wearing all that red.
Yeah, let's. I'll change if we have a break. 123 for Casual E. Then we got Jay over here with 142. You were neck and neck with Ed for a couple weeks there, and then I think Ed cheated or did something. I don't know what he did.
Yeah. Essentially, what I tried to do was I tried to pick against what I thought you would pick, and it just blew up in my face. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like that, how you just pick against me.
Yes.
So then we have in second place Ed, Easy Rider, Smith, 149. That's the 86.9 percentile. There's also percentiles in the overall grouping. The groupings.
Yes, indeed.
And then, last but not least, first but most importantly,
Yes.
myself with 156, 97th percentile. It's just it's like my SATs. No, it's not. Wish it was like my SATs.
Well, congrats on that, man. So very, very well earned. But we still got 1 week to go through, and good Lord.
Yeah, I can still lose.
Maybe you could just pick everything wrong, and then we can kind of go that way.
There's a lot of runaway games this week. I don't know if I can do that on purpose.
So while we get into the first segment, I know you had a playoff tracker or the various scenarios that maybe we can play out during the show, but I want to start with the 49ers at the Seahawks. Now, the 49ers, we know that if you're looking at kind of what the playoff picture looks like currently, I like the one that's on the NFL. With CBS. So if we're looking at it currently, the San Francisco 49ers, they are in the number one spot. They're currently they have a 12-3 record. The reason that we're starting off with this game first, of course, is because the Seattle Seahawks still have that opportunity to finish top because they beat Seattle. They beat San Francisco earlier in the season, and Seattle is coming off of that loss to the Arizona Cardinals. So the Seattle Seahawks are number 5 in the NFC at 11-4. It's interesting to me. I'm curious to see because they're playing this game in Seattle. Seattle does not have the same invincibility that they've had before with people being able to go up to CenturyLink. It doesn't mean that they're incapable of winning at home, but it does mean that aura, there's something about that. It's something is gone, and I think that's because they're trying to round that defense into shape. The point disparity for the points for and against when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they shouldn't be 11-4. They should be much worse than they are if you look at the disparity. But your thoughts on this, Sean? What do you got on this?
I want to touch real quick on your point about saying that something's missing because something has returned
what is
to
that?
CenturyLink.
Yes, indeed. Good point.
He's just about that action, boss.
Yes, he is.
Marshawn Lynch has returned. Can I say how stinking relieved I am as a Cardinal fan that Marshawn Lynch decides to come back after we play them 2 times in a season?
Right.
Because I take it from anyone, from me, I got sick and tired of seeing him dive into the end zone, grabbing
his crotch.
Oh my gosh. So thank God we are done playing Seattle without Marshawn Lynch for now. This is probably the biggest game out of all the games this week, right?
Yeah.
Because this has the most playoff positioning implications for both teams.
Right.
One wins, the other one loses. They're going to flop and possibly lose a home field advantage, or even a bye, depending on how things shake out for everyone else. There's a lot of skepticism about the impact of Marshawn's ability, like what he's going to do, but I don't want to see him on a field ever. Like, I would never want to face that guy. I don't care if he's 45, 15 years old. I don't care what. That guy is insane, and the game is on the line. Playoff positioning is on the line. Oof, it's going to be rough for San Fran. I'm actually picking Seattle in this game to win.
Okay.
They need to kind of wipe that, we lost to Arizona, but we slept on them type of game. This is that comeback game. And if they can win, they will very likely host a wild card game, which would put San Fran most likely at Philadelphia, which is a tough place to play, even though Philadelphia is Philadelphia.
Right.
So,
don't you think that if out of the 2 teams, that San Francisco's defense would travel well on the road?
They should travel well on the road. Yeah. There's I have to think back. The Cardinals had a late game. Let's say it was 2015 or 2016. The defense had a really good game. It was the game that Tyrann Mathieu blew his knee out, but the defense played really well in that weather. You can have success in Philly late, especially right now with how kind of weak this team is and that whole division is. Right. It could help them. you argue because otherwise you're hosting, and you have Minnesota coming in, most likely, depending on how things shake out.
Right.
And that. I'd almost rather go to Philly, right? Like,
yeah, because
you look at the two
especially
teams.
if I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. It depends.
Carson Wentz, Kirk
he's
Cousins.
Like good,
Which one?
He's like good and bad Jameis Winston. He's good and bad Kirk Cousins. Kirk isn't necessarily going to throw a lot of picks, but he definitely will not come through in the clutch.
He's the richer Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Now, you mentioned Marshawn Lynch just a little bit earlier. How effective do you think that he can be? I mean, he's had a layoff, quite a substantial layoff. He pulled up.
Yeah.
I think he had his press conference. He pulled up in a car, in a truck filled with Skittles. If you know anything about Marshawn Lynch, then you know that being beast mode, he was associated with Skittles, and so of course it was only fitting that he pulled up to the stadium in a truck literally filled with Skittles.
He's still that's one of those guys that just plays pure passion. You know, like he's obviously a physical freak, right?
I think when you say passion, I think that I think him walking into the locker room, I think that's going to do something for maybe the confidence of, if nothing else, than because of the legend that is Marshawn Lynch.
There's already players, rookies, and young guys in the locker room that like can't even speak to him. Like they're so like intimidated, in awe. So that alone is like a jump start that this team kind of needed late, I think. I don't want to say his success is going to be solely tied on Pete Carroll's ability to call a run play on the 1 yard line, but it's a little bit tied to Pete Carroll's decision making, right? Like you got to be a fly on that room to hear. Marshawn probably had to ask the question, right? Okay, well, what happens if we're on the 1 yard line? I'm gonna give you the ball, Marshawn. Like did he learn the lesson? Is that why Marshawn came back?
You wonder. That's gonna be interesting right there. So so you said you're picking Seattle for this one.
I am picking Seattle for this one. I just don't see San Fran coming back. Seattle had them close last time. Mm-hmm. They believe they won, right? They took overtime and won.
Yeah, it was.
Our Cardinals had them close.
Game. Yeah, some mistakes down the stretch, and so Seattle ended up pulling that one out.
I see Seattle winning this one.
So it's interesting to see if Seattle does indeed have that clutch gene that Russell Wilson said that they had a few weeks back when they were on that roll of winning close games. So let's go to the Titans and the Texans. Now this is interesting. So the Titans are playing at the Texans, and so this is interesting for just a couple different reasons for me. So we know that if you're looking at the playoff picture, then we know that Tennessee right now, they are in. There's a possibility that they could be out. The still alive teams in the AFC are the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Oakland Raiders. My Oakland Raiders, so that would be great if we could get into the playoffs some way, somehow. But so Tennessee and so Houston is at the number 4 spot with a 10-5 record. Your thoughts on this game? I'm just curious to see Tennessee with their since they've replaced Mariota. They have really taken on a new life, and it makes you wonder, was it the mistake of the Dolphins? Were they doing something so wrong, or was it really one of those classic change of scenery type of things with their quarterback situation? But with Houston, I never trust. There are certain coaches, for whatever reason, that I just don't trust, despite the talent that's on the team. And the Texans are one of those because I just don't trust their head coach. But your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, for Tannehill, let's start Tannehill. I think a change of scenery helped him. I think a humbling experience helped him. Not that he was an arrogant guy, but everyone sometimes needs to know that you just got to push a little harder.
Right.
And maybe getting to ride the bench a little bit does that for you. Tennessee, man, they screw up so many weeks for me. Every week they're screwing up a game. I pick them, they lose. I don't pick them, they win. It's just they've been my Achilles heel. Don't screw up things for me now. I'm not picking Tennessee to win. I'm taking Houston at home. They just played each other on the 15th. Mm-hmm. And that was a close game. I think it was a 3-point game. Mm-hmm. We might not end up with not one, but 2 8-8 playoff teams if Tennessee makes it. With Philly and Tennessee, they could both be in the playoffs at 8-8, which I think would be a little historic. I didn't double check this, but I thought that Tennessee has the tiebreaker with Pittsburgh based on strength of schedule. Okay. So if it matches up that way, they may still make the playoffs at 8-8, which would just be wild for me.
Now, are you one of those where there seems to be the rising chorus of people that want the playoff, the way the playoffs are constructed to change based upon the record? You mentioned the situation where where we're going to have the Cowboys or the Eagles when they come in with a very lackluster record coming into the playoffs. Are you one of those that wants this whole thing changed? If you win your division, that shouldn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to have a home playoff game?
I like the idea of the best teams get in.
Yeah.
Now that also would have, if history repeated itself, wiped out my Cardinals playoff run, but can't change the past, so that helps me out. But
or that beast mode, if you remember,
or the beast mode run,
when the Seattle Hawks,
the run that made him famous.
Saints, yes, scale game.
I would like to see the best teams go in. I think that's what's best for the league. I think it's a better way to make the divisions get better. Looking at the NFC East, that would make them play better, and Jerry Jones might actually have to relinquish some rights to make his team better. I want to see the best teams play. And if there's a team like say the Rams all of a sudden picked it up, they didn't, but let's say they got better, and they're on the outside looking in because you got Seattle and San Fran already playing.
Right.
Like you'd want the best team to be in, and there's not a lot of cases for that this year. Like you're looking at maybe what? I mean, not Chicago, not Tampa Bay. The Rams are probably the closest argument this year for it, but there's been years in the past where a 10-win team won't make the playoffs.
Right.
And that hurts. Like
That's
the number shouldn't be, I got 10, I can coast. It shouldn't be that. But also, if you get 10, you're most likely in. It shouldn't be a scenario where you're not in.
Yeah, this is a good thing with that. Well, what up, fool? Welcome on in. So this is the one and only Casual E, Earl Burnett in the place to be. So we're just talking about the Titans at the Texans. So your thoughts, just briefly, on the Titans and the Texans. As again, I was telling Sean that I don't necessarily trust. I don't trust the head coach for the Texans. But so your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I agree with that. You can't trust actually neither one of these teams. but to Tennessee's credit, I think Tennessee is built for the playoffs.
Okay.
I think they are with that running game and a quarterback that can manage the game the way Ryan Tannehill's managing the game. I think they're built more for the playoffs than the Texans are right now. And the Texans are just a mystery. It's just if they have to have the right weather and the right everything right for them to have that big game they always have. So I don't know. I just think Tennessee's a little bit more playoff ready.
Henry's been a little banged up, so hopefully he can get right into the playoffs.
Every time I hear it get right, I keep thinking of that.
But they're going to be a tough out, though.
Yeah.
They're going to be a tough out. Them and Buffalo, but more so.
Right. So let's transition to the Redskins at the Cowboys. This is an interesting game, and for no other reason that this is the only team still alive in the NFC are those Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys are 7-8. So as Sean just mentioned a few moments ago, if they happen to get in, because if Philadelphia loses, then the Cowboys are in, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Or do they need some other help? So as you check on that, my friend. So the thing with the Cowboys, okay, so if that's the case, so if Philadelphia loses and the Cowboys win, then Philadelphia is out and the Cowboys are in. And this is one of those things that Earl has been talking about all season, and it's been well documented in the media, that the Cowboys just can't seem to, when they're up against the mediocre teams, they ball out, they overachieve. But when they're playing those teams they against the good teams, they seem to fall flat. And I think that's rung true for most of the season. So when you have a team, in this case, they should win, right? So is this one of those things where they're going to be able to come through and do their thing? I think last week it was amazing to me that they didn't run the ball more and that they counted so much on Dak Prescott. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't count on your quarterback, especially if you're going to pay him what he'll probably end up getting paid in the offseason. But you have a running back that this is one of those moments that he was built for. But your thoughts on this one, Earl?
I've been saying that all year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick to that, but I'm going to add something to that. I think, it has been they don't get up. They don't know how to compete against the over 500 teams or the better teams, and they get up for the lesser teams. Mm-hmm. But I think you got to add an element into that, and this week is going to be that element. That's pressure.
Okay.
And that's where they really crack.
Okay.
They cracked last week. Philly was not that great. Philly was, if I had to class Philly as one of the teams that they've beaten better teams, I would class Philly as one of the mediocre teams that they should beat.
Okay.
They cracked under the pressure of winning that game, and they're going to crack under this pressure because it's something they have to do. And Dak Prescott hasn't got over that hump, just like, man, all these Cowboy quarterbacks do that for a while. Tony didn't do it for a while. Who else did the Cowboys have as quarterbacks? I mean, just didn't.
Quincy Carter?
But I'm
Lobbed
just
it
saying
up to
that
him.
they just crack under pressure in pressure games. So I think that's what's going to happen in this one. I think the Redskins? The Redskins are playing really good right now. They can run the ball too. AP is balling, so I'm going for the Redskins in the upset.
Okay. What you got, Sean?
Earl, this is why you're last, my friend.
Oh, I picked the Cardinals last week. I don't think nobody else on this panel did that last week.
Yeah. Okay.
No, actually,
okay.
I did pick them.
Oh, you did?
Because I was trying to.
You was trying to beat somebody.
Opposite of me.
Yeah,
The Cowboys
I am
lucked
last,
out. They lucked out in facing Washington this week. Washington is going to do nothing to lose that number 2 pick. They're holding on to that number 2 pick tighter than Jason Garrett with a vanilla game plan.
It don't go down like that in football, though, man.
It
just
does
don't.
when you're Washington. It does when you're Washington. Look at the top 3 teams that are going to have picks. Cincinnati, Washington, Detroit. What do they all have in common? Being bad for a long time. They're usually bad for a really long time. Washington is entering this era, and they are excited about it.
But if they were going to be
Wow.
tanking, then they would be playing Haskins. They're playing a veteran quarterback.
Ask Miami how's that going. Okay? They all know how to do it. That's why they're playing the veteran quarterbacks.
Okay, well, let's move on to the.
That's a good point.
So if everything holds serve, then this next team will end up getting into the playoffs. So we have the New York Football Giants, as they like to say, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So with this game, the Eagles are actually at the Giants. So this one, in the media we anoint people way too fast, right? So you have 2 good games, and all of a sudden you're the heir apparent, and you're the second coming of insert name here. I think that's what was done with Carson Wentz,
Right.
because he's big and he's strong arm and all these other things.
Next big pocket pass.
And I just don't see that yet. And maybe it's just me. I have a quarterback, Carr, who on my team that he had one really good year, and after that he's been inconsistent, to say the least. Has some ups and some downs. So that's what Carson Wentz is to me. But having said all that, we have the Eagles at the Giants. It's going to be they're in the division, so we know that they're going to be going tooth and nail against each other, fighting tooth and nail. So what you got on this one, Sean?
This is definitely a game that is a potential spoiler alert here. I'm not going to pick it because it doesn't feel like I'm not quite there. It doesn't quite curl right, to quote Jake.
Well done.
So I'm close, but if Philly loses and Dallas wins, which isn't impossible, they'd be watching the playoffs from the couch. This is a must-win game for Philadelphia. They're on the road, division rival. There's a lot going on against it. I think Philly's going to step up to it. I don't know why. I have no proof. I have nothing to base it on.
Right.
But I just look at it and I'm going, the Giants, can they beat Philly? Yeah, but Philly they have to win, right? They don't, after coming off of that big win against Dallas, it's a big win for them against Dallas. Everyone else in the league is like, okay, it's just a win. But for them, it's a big win. They got to stack a second one. That's why the NFL pushed 2 divisional games at the end, because you have to just stack them twice to get in.
Right.
So Philly's got to do it, and I think they can.
I know y'all probably already talked about this, but the sad part is that either one of the Cowboys or Eagles going in with a home game in the playoffs.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
sickening.
sad part, man.
There might be 2 8-8 teams in the playoffs.
It's like, oh my goodness, man. But Giants are capable of beating this team. I mean, Giants are Daniel Jones has been playing pretty good. He played good last week, but Wentz is hitting his stride. It looks like.
All All right.
Carson Wentz is starting to look like a starting quarterback that got his team to the playoffs a couple of years ago. Just starting to get there.
But who's his
But
backup
they
to ride
are-
him out
they-
in the Super Bowl?
They are good point.
Well said.
They are banged up though, so that leaves the door open for the Giants to kind of get them. They're banged up in a lot of areas on that Philly team, but I think Carson, he doesn't have any more receivers, do he?
I think he's fresh out.
Yeah, it's like wow, but I think he's hitting it. They've come up with a method of this is how we're going to win now. So
Marshawn Lynch can go back to the Seahawks. Maybe Chris Carter can go back to the Eagles.
damn, that's a long time ago. If that
can
case,
still catch.
Randall Cunningham come down up in there.
All right, so let's get into. I want to have a good
watching
little
Dallas?
in-depth discussion about this. We have the Arizona Cardinals going to Los Angeles to play the Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals are 5-9-1. The Rams are out of the playoffs. We know that the Rams are done. Much has been commented about the look on Sean McVay's face at the end of the game when he realized that it was all for naught as they come back and had the definite Super Bowl hangover. Your thoughts on this one, Earl, as we get, because I want to dig into a little bit of. We know that last week, your boy King and Drake, as I like to say, King and Drake, he 80. What is it? He had the 80-yard run. That was last week, right?
Right.
And Kyler Murray didn't have a spectacular game, but he did just enough. He managed the game, and there were and when he went out with his hamstring a little bit tweaked, we had our boy Hundley come in, and he acquitted himself quite well, and so did a good job there. Pulled out the victory. The defense played well. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. And Earl was on our show, Ed and I show, Easy Sports Talk, and we were talking a little bit about just the Cardinals and what we could expect in terms of for that particular game. And I think that they outperformed maybe what we even expected that they were going to be able to do. But Earl, your thoughts on this game? Because again, as if Ed was here, he would be talking about how players probably have already this week. They were already online trying to figure out where they're going after the game
Right.
on the Rams because they know that they're not going to the playoffs, so maybe they're going to Vegas or Tahoe or Hawaii or wherever they're going. So your thoughts on this one, Earl?
I was just about to say that the Rams are in a mode right now. They probably checking out, and the Cardinals. This is their Super Bowl. This is like it's like we owe them a butt kicking.
Right.
So that's what I think that's what it's going to end up like. I mean, it's going to be two different teams. I mean, two different teams from the last time they played.
Right.
One is not. It had aspirations of going through the playoffs and getting back to where they were, and that got killed last week. And they don't have anything to play for. Cardinals, on the other hand, do have something to still play for. They still have to play for getting better. Still looking like what next year could look like. They got pride to play for. Yeah. They have. Man, they might even give some people like David Johnson a chance to see what he could do out there.
Nope.
I mean, there's a lot that the Cardinals can do in this game that they're going to still be evaluating. But the Rams, I think, will check out in this game, and they're going to let that dang beast on the end, Chandler Jones, loose on Golf, and that's all it's going to take. I don't even think Golf's going to probably play in this game. Do you think he's playing in this game?
Yeah, I think he'll.
I think we're going to see some Bortles in this game, and if we see some Bortles, we're going to get Ed's antenna going to go up.
We got Bortles on the line.
Simple mathematics says 6-9 and 1 is better than 5-10 and 1. But there's just, double-digit losses for a second year in a row. I think that would be a hard one to wear during the off season. So maybe the Cardinals will end up trying to pull this one out. But what you got on this one, Sean?
I'm going to Arizona. Like you said, this game has 0 playoff indications. The Rams are holding on to a 2-game losing streak. Cardinals are holding on to a 2-game winning streak. Streaks are important in this league. It's about what have you done lately. Lately, the Cardinals look good. The Cardinals defense has put up 2 notable performances. Finally, all year. 2 of them back-to-back. Stacked wins. Ramsey's out for the Rams as well. And I believe personally, I don't have any insight yet, but I believe Kyler's going to play regardless of that hamstring. It was noted earlier that it was a small pull. He's just going to push through it and play. He doesn't have to win. They don't have to win this game on Kyler's legs at all. They have Drake, who's got a really big team. They need some really big 6-win seasons. But anyways, I got a question for you guys. Does a win here, I still got you good on that one. Doubling last year's win total, does that change your outlook on 2021?
No, not yet. And I'll
Not
say
yet.
no because I want to see who they get in the draft.
That's
Because
fair.
I want draft picks, not trying to. I said it on this show before, and I know I've said it a couple times. I'm one of those. I'm the type of guy that I hate the fact that free agency comes before the draft, because if you can build your team through the draft and then be able to fill the holes in free agency, I think that would be a better way to go about it. But having said that, I think that I'm reserving judgment until I know what they do with the draft.
Right.
There are instances where teams' records don't show what they really are.
Yeah.
And I think the Cardinals have pulled into that category where their record is 5-9 or going to be 6-9, whatever it is, but they're not a 5-9 looking team right now. They look like a better team right now.
There's two games you could take back for sure that could have had those games.
Right,
Not
exactly.
if this, and this happened. It was if this one thing happened, you could have had this game.
Right, and we have a lot of those games.
I would just fairly,
least 3.
fairly just call it 2. I'd
Right.
say the Tampa game and Detroit you could have won.
Oh,
You could throw
Detroit.
2 49er games in there.
You could have, yes, but
I mean, but just think
I'll
about
give
it.
them the nod since they're the better team.
But when you ask that question, man, it's like night and day to me. It's like, yeah, I would got belief in next year because think back to last year. That 3-13 didn't look like a 3-13 team. They looked like a 1-15 or 0-16 team.
they did.
So I mean, I like where they're going. I really do. I like what they look like. If they can maintain this week, let's see if it's real first. Let that defense have another good showing like they had last week. If they can do that, man, I'm loving where they're going. Just add a few good pieces and they'll be right there.
Got another one real quick because I know Earl's going to want to talk about this too. The draft order is going to be affected based on our pick. The Cardinals were at one point in the season as high as the 6th pick in the draft. Players on the field don't care about that. We all know that.
Right.
But fans do. Even if Keim will inevitably mess up the pick anyway, you could potentially drop as low as 13 if things shake out a certain way with this win.
Wow.
That means bye-bye CD Lamb, who I know you want.
Yes.
Right now they're 7. You said right.
Right
9.
now they are
Projected
9.
okay.
They were 6 at one point in the season. They're
So
9 right now.
projected from at least from NFL.
Wow,
NFL.com,
13.
Based upon what they think is going to happen, projected the Cardinals would be 7. But to your point.
But if you could jump below the Jets, Denver, Cleveland will probably get a win. Denver might get a win. You just don't know there.
Right.
So there's some shifting that could happen that could
Well,
drop
that's
you
a-
even more.
That's another good sign that they are getting better.
But you gonna lose CD Lamb though?
No, I don't. But we talked about this Monday.
That's why I brought it back up.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was going to go that. Wow, 13.
You could.
You could,
It might,
right,
the
right.
Jets are in that area
Wow.
too, so they're probably going to lose. But yeah,
Yeah.
you could shift down a little bit further.
I think no matter what, it's still going to come down to the man that's pulling trigger on these dang picks. It's going to come down to that either way. So,
This
fair.
is a little bit off scope of what we talk about, but you know what's interesting that the Rams, their money's gone.
oh, they are
Their
and their
picks,
picks are gone.
screwed.
They don't have a
their,
first
yeah,
round
more
pick.
importantly, their picks are
They
gone.
are screwed.
It's like it's a different sport, but it reminds me of the Lakers when we had no cap space, and I'm a Laker fan when I.
But
say
you had
Lakers.
Karl Malone.
And we were trying to make these moves, and then eventually people, we're not trying to deal with y'all. We know you're dealing from a position of weakness. So, what's interesting to me, you mentioned that you think that Kyler Murray is going to play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on, man. Do you play him? No, seriously. I mean, Hundley, he comes in, he was 4 for 9. I know it was only 49 yards. He scrambled for a little bit. He got a few yards scrambling. But do you risk it in case in case it's something more severe? Because I know you guys remember when they played the Rams a couple of years ago, and David Johnson had that, what was it, the hyperextended knee or something like that?
Yeah.
That happened. So you really think that he should play?
I think Kyler should play. With a small pull, that would be really hard to tear. That's got to, and he's like he said, like I've never been injured, like in my career, like heavily injured. So he sounds durable to me, to where go ahead and let him play. If all of a sudden he comes out after like 2 drives, hey, it just doesn't feel right. Okay, pull him. Like we know what Brett can do after a drive or two. He can get comfortable, but Kyler needs this, especially not just for the Rookie of the Year accolades that he's trying to get,
Right.
but he needs this to be able to say, you know what, I got to grind through this. I got to show these guys that I'm here. Because even when he came and sat out, we didn't talk about this on Monday. He came and sat out. He literally was sitting on the bench with the heating pad.
Right.
P2 Patrick came and sat next to him and was like, "Dude, get up. Like you're hurt. Get up and go cheer for everybody." Like I didn't read the lips, but that he sat down, said a couple of things, and then all of a sudden they both got up, and then Kyler started clapping and getting into the game again. So he's got to learn this leadership mentality. You may be hurt, but you're not out.
Exactly.
So I think it's important.
That's a good point. I like that. And I think being a rookie and his mindset is, I had a bad taste in my mouth leaving a game early, first of all. Right. I can't leave and go into a long off season. And no, he wants to be out there. And I know he's clamoring to those coaches, get me out there. And another good sign to me is that he was in the early practice on, Tuesday? Yeah. So it's like,
Limited.
Very limited, but it's like the injury is not as severe as everybody might have thought it was, and they pulled him, or he pulled himself, or whatever they pulled him. He was going through a little discomfort, but he didn't want to probably make it worse by playing on it at that time.
Right.
And we got to also take into account too that he's been playing on that for 3 weeks.
Yeah, because then was it Tampa Bay?
Yeah, the game that he actually pulled it was
San Francisco.
Because it was San Fran. So it was in those three.
He pulled it on the bye week in a practice.
Okay.
And then so he ended up playing that next coming out of the bye week at, I believe it was Frisco or Tampa, one of those two.
The bye week was LA coming out of the bye week. That's what I got.
Okay, yeah, that's correct. And so then those next 3 games he played tentatively with it anyway. Right. And he knows how to protect himself.
First game back was a little slow. It didn't
exactly,
run that much,
really
and then
slow. And he finally got himself back in it and got rolling again. And he did a lot of running in that dang first quarter.
Like the training staff found a way to actually warm it up pre-game just enough to where he could push it, but not make it worse.
And I think Kyler does a little bit too much juking and faking. Where you have to plant that leg, and you have to. He does a lot, and I think he'll probably dial that back a little bit and just run straight out of bounds.
Instead of do the Dak Prescott.
There you go, yeah, and Dak Prescott and run your butt right out of bounds. But I really don't think he's going to have to do too much running in this game. I think he'll stand in that pocket. If it's a rush coming, he'll throw it away.
Well, hey, that defense is.
He'll throw that ball away before Aaron Donald get there. And Aaron Donald, like I said, are mentally checked out. I just got a feeling they're mentally checked out of this game.
Speaking of Aaron Donald, though, on the flip side, Chandler Jones needs 3.5 sacks to beat the record. No, to match the record.
4 to break it.
4 to break it.
3.5 to tie it. And everybody's starting to think that since the Rams are checking out, why don't y'all do us a favor?
You're not gonna let your division rival.
Yeah, well, tell that to who played Green Green Bay.
No,
the Giants.
The
Giants.
Giants and Green. So that was different because if it wouldn't have happened if it was Green Bay and
the Bears or somebody. Yeah. No, nothing like that would probably happen.
Cool. So let's move.
Before we move on, give me y'all's assessment of Cliff Kingsbury up to this point.
He was holding that paper pretty steady. Wasn't he on his last
I thought that was his best coached game all season long. But as a whole, coming in as our new coach, do you see him as he's a keeper, or is he like? What would you grade his performance up to this this season?
He's a keeper because I don't think you can build any type of continuity by firing coaches year after year after year.
Right.
So I think he's not as much. He's nowhere near as much of a dumpster fire as Wilkes was. I mean, he had just a deer in the headlights,
right?
And he held the play card steady, but he was just. I think he was nervous as heck as all get out. So I think Kingsbury. I want to see more him really take the reins on all aspects of the team.
I agree.
Because you've heard, since we're talking about the Rams, you've heard about McVay wanted to take more control of the team as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that should come when you become more comfortable and acclimated to your new surroundings and your new position and the demands of that position.
And I think he's already starting to do that. I am firmly of the belief that putting Hassan Reddick on the defensive line was actually Cliff Kingsbury knocking on Vance's door saying, We need to know what we have in this guy. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. Do it. I don't care if there's a hole in coverage linebacker. None of them can cover anyway. So just
Right.
put him on the defensive line and see what he can do. And that's paid off too because his pressures led to that 4-sack game
Exactly.
last week for Chandler.
Chandler,
Which
yeah.
is huge. Huge.
And
If
he's
you can
also-
have someone like that. That's going to set Chandler up for
I think
success.
he's also sitting Vance down and saying, okay, are these veterans starting to complain in the locker room? Yeah, they about losing. Okay, let's get them out of here. And there's Suggs is gone, Brock is gone, Swearinger's gone. I think he's starting to take a little bit more of the reins a little bit, and I like that.
You can't have that type of dissension any type, especially if you're a new coach.
Right.
It starts to spread like a cancer.
Exactly.
From one person to the next. So interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on this, of course, in the entire offseason. Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. The Buffalo Bills, as Bomani Jones was saying, Jaheim Allen, because he's faster than you think he is. But the Jets are playing at the Bills. I'm just curious to see how, because we know the Bills are going to be in the playoffs, but how are they going to kind of prepare, because they're not going to have a bye. So how are they going to prepare this dress rehearsal for the playoffs? That's my biggest thing. Because other than that, the Jets are the Jets, but the Jets have been beating some teams where you've expected them to not show up and play well against. So interesting that maybe Gase, maybe they're aberrations, or maybe it's a positive trend for the Jets. What you got, Sean?
The Buffalo has been a surprise team of the year for me. The defense, I believe, they're going to eat Darnold alive. They're going to have Gase's eyes wider than they've ever been.
I thought Ghost was on the field.
Yeah, this is one of those coasting games for me. I think Buffalo's going to get up early and just kind of take a seat, bench the starters, and the Jets have no answer for it. So, quick and easy there.
Yeah, this is a tune-up for the Bills. Man, this is one team that I don't think anybody in the AFC wants to play.
Think so? Think so?
From a defensive standpoint,
from a defensive
man, I'm not okay. Yeah, they can't score, and that's going to be an issue. You know, you go up against a Kansas City or the New England and Baltimore's that can score,
Right.
but man, it's something still that stands about defenses in playoff games. If you can defend and get pressure and cause havoc on and disrupt what teams like to do. They're going to be a hard out, and it all depends on where they're going to seed at and who they're going to be playing. So
Top it off, John Brown has over 1,000
woo,
yards.
that boy is balling out.
Cold weather does it for him.
Woo!
Because John Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the one that had the sickle cell.
Right, it ain't bothering him now,
Heat didn't help.
man.
Man, so interesting. So, did I already get you, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. So going on to Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So this is going to be interesting for just a couple different reasons. So Steelers are going into the Ravens. The Ravens are probably going to have me, Sean, and Earl out there because they're not playing Jackson, they're not playing Ingram, they're not playing anybody.
I call quarterback.
Yeah.
No, I got that.
So they're definitely sitting a lot of players. And this is interesting because they're from the same division. And,
Right.
and the Steelers are one of those possible teams that could get in. They're right now sitting at number 7 with an 8-7 record. So there's a possibility that they could get in. I don't expect the Ravens to switch up their whole philosophy just because they're trying to prevent the Steelers from getting in. It's just an interesting side note to this. But so what do you think about this? Is the Steelers are trying to? It's a great job that Tomlin has done this year.
Man.
I think it's there have been some people that have noted how special of a job that he's done. But when you got, I'm trying to tell you, you got Rudolph, man, Mason Rudolph, and you got the Duck Dynasty dude. All that stuff, and you got Big Ben looking like he's Big John Stud, just getting bigger.
He looks like the Duck Dynasty dude.
So, and it's just interesting. It's definitely kudos to him. But what you got on this one, Earl?
We'll get a chance to see what RG3 can look like in this game. I mean, I know it ain't gonna really mean nothing, but if he can win this game for that team, that says a lot for him going forward for his career, probably as a future backup.
Miami's future starting quarterback.
Hey, a lot of teams feature quarterbacks, that excuse me, that could, probably plug him in there. But yeah, Pittsburgh is going to, I just hope they don't back their way in the playoffs. I'm so tired of seeing them in New England in the playoffs. that I'm just hoping that RG3 could just go ahead and win this game, because I don't see them scoring any points. That team cannot score either.
Right.
So, and boy, what are they doing for quarterback? My goodness, pull him out. Put the next guy back in.
Put him in.
Okay, put him back
you
in.
back in, man.
No,
Hey,
no, you back in. You back in.
You
That
good?
dude's
We got
stunk.
you. We got you.
I mean,
What you got, Sean?
This is one of the weirder ones to place for me. You don't really know if Baltimore's going to sit or rest anybody at certain points, because they could come out and change it. I mean, John Harbaugh is really good at misdirection. Pittsburgh Magic, their Magic has lost some of its luster. They lost 2 straight. Baltimore's a tough team to rebound against, and it's a little late for a rebound. Last week of the season, I see Pittsburgh losing, and I don't see them being close.
one thing that we can put on there, I just looked up real quick, that they have 36 takeaways. That's first in the league, Pittsburgh. And they're playing against an RG3 that hasn't played all year. So that could
There's
be
a
a
chance.
problem.
As long as you don't have Shanahan trying to have him roll out and get his knee destroyed. I think
Oh.
he'll be all right.
Yeah, he'll be in the press box with some goggles. Like,
What you need to do is the Saints at the Panthers. I'm just curious to see how. Do we know if Drew Brees is even playing? Is he going to play? Because right now, where the Saints sit in the playoff picture, there we go. The Saints are at the number 3 spot with at 12-3. So I'm not too sure how much they can move up. Of course, there's not too much movement that can really go on there. But your thoughts on this? Because what is it again? The top 2 teams in every division, in every conference, they have the bye. So New Orleans is likely going to be playing. They're going to be playing in that first week of the playoffs. Will they rest people? What do you guys think in terms of this game? What do you got, Sean?
you know, the big game that influences the most is the Seattle-San Fran game.
Yep.
If San Fran loses, New Orleans is in the number 2 spot with a first-round bye either way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's huge for them. A lot of teams jostling around in the NFC. There's a lot more movement in the NFC than in the AFC based on who wins and who loses.
Right.
Carolina could play spoiler against a divisional foe, but I don't see it happening with Carolina's spiral. They've lost, 5 straight?
Yeah.
It's been brutal. So I'm going to say New Orleans, regardless of the quarterback, because they have 3 good ones that they could choose from. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, there's a great one and then 2 good ones, but still.
Anyway, that man
Stockpiling quarterbacks.
He loves that Taysom Hill. So
I don't see Sean Payton as the type of coach to rest anybody. He's the type of guy that puts his foot on the pedal and keeps going. And their offense really hasn't been back on track completely yet.
Right.
And I think he wants to get them tuned up. I mean, we know Michael Thomas is going to be Michael Thomas, but their running game hasn't gotten where they wanted. And this is going to be a run special from them, because the Panthers are 32nd. I thought we were 32nd in stopping the rush, but actually they have taken over. We got better. There you go. See,
Get rid of Suggs.
Panthers have taken over the reins of giving up 150 yards of rushing a game. So I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a monster game in that game just to get some tune-up for the playoffs.
now the game where I should have had it in the first segment because it's such a special game. It was so
A
good.
special
Oh, no.
game.
Raiders at the Broncos.
Oh, no.
Oh, I
The
hate
Ra-
these matchups.
The Raiders have an opportunity. They're one of those with an outside chance of still getting in. They sit at the number 8 spot in the AFC. They're with a 7-8 record. Obviously in the AFC West, playing against the Broncos. The Broncos are 6-9. So the Broncos, the last few weeks, I mean, they've been playing. I mean, they have played much better, I suppose you could say, with thinking that, again, with the short sample size, that they found the quarterback of the future based on a couple of performances. But we know that the Oakland faithful didn't like the way that the Oakland lost last week in the black hole and started tearing up the stadium and throwing beer and
Throwing nachos.
all nachos, all that stuff with the jalapenos and the cheese sauce. But what do you guys think about this game? What you got, Earl?
Oh man, this is these two teams get together, they just brawl. So the Raiders can back their way in a semi truck into the playoffs. They need a lot of scenarios to go down for them.
Let it beep.
They need so and so to lose.
Yeah.
It needs to be pigs flying. I mean, all kinds of scenarios need to happen for them to get in. And
Right.
but they're gonna play like they're trying to make it. And that's man, motivation is everything in
Going
games
to a
like
new
this.
stadium,
Man,
might as
motivation
well
is
say
everything like this.
playoff performance going
Right,
to a new stadium,
right.
a new city.
But yeah, this is gonna be a grudge match. But I'm gonna go with Oakland just because they have something to play for.
What you got, Sean?
Well, I'm gonna start by saying Mark Davis. Did you hear what he said about being sentimental?
He said, "Nope." I went through
nope.
it. I went through it back in '84.
It's like screw them.
I'm straight.
So it's actually not as hard as you think for Oakland to make it. Really, all that has to happen is Houston has to beat the Titans, and then Steelers got to lose, which seems likely, and Oakland has to win. It's really just 3-part scenario. But with all that being said, I'm still picking the Broncos because it is hard to play in Denver, regardless of if you play there every year. It's hard to play in Denver. I don't have any faith in Denver at all about any of their players, but I still think because it's hard to play in Denver, things happen there. I'm going to pick Denver.
Could this be a game that can finally put Carr on the map, though, if he wins this game?
Against Denver?
I mean, not on the map like he's an elite or anything, but at least, dude, you got to make a stand at some point and put yourself somewhere in the range of being a good quarterback.
Hey, you do it against Buffalo, then, yeah.
Man.
Not gonna happen. So Colts at Jaguars. This is our quick hitter segment as we hit the home stretch. So we got Colts at Jaguars. Well, the thing that's just really interesting to me, the Colts are 7-8. They were going through a really good stretch there.
Yeah, they
were
fell off.
outperforming themselves. Jacoby Brissett, he's definitely regressed, and I don't think that he's the long term. Well, they probably don't think that he's a long term solution. He had his season long dress rehearsal, and I think that he's forgetting his lines at the end of the show. So, your thoughts on this one, the Jacksonville and Indianapolis? We'll go with you, Sean.
You know, I'm going to take what I think is the better team in a meaningless game, but the Colts have disappointed me all year long. Why change? So I'm going with the Colts.
I'm going with Minshew just because of the mustache.
Browns at Bengals. The Browns, it's so funny when when mainstream media decides on a team that they're going to glom onto for various reasons. I think that they knew they were going to implode and they wanted to build them up just to see them fall, just to tear them down.
Conspiracy.
But Browns at the Bengals. The Bengals, they might have decided to go after that number 1 spot, to quote Ludacris, to get that number 1 pick. So
they got that already.
Yeah, so Browns at the Bengals. What you got, Earl?
Freddie Kitchens, will he have the 1-year thing and be gone like his defensive coordinator did for the Cardinals? That's all that matters here. Cleveland has a chance to keep it all together and go into another year because it does take a lot of building. And let's just see, keep it together and see what happens. But if you break it up again, they're going to be in the same boat next year.
Yeah, they got to do the whole
do it all over again. So let's see what happens.
Beating Cincinnati doesn't save his job. Losing to Cincinnati loses his job. So Cincinnati's going to lie down and sleep easy knowing that the number 1 pick is all theirs. Cleveland wins by default.
Wow.
It's like that.
Falcons at Buccaneers. The last few weeks, I think you pointed it out, Earl. I've heard you mention it. I mean, the Buccaneers are doing, even with bad Jameis showing up every other play, it seems like. They're doing a lot better. Their record is, I want to say, let me grab this as I'm saying this. So I'll pull up their record in a second. But I think if we're looking at what we can maybe expect for them if we project into next season, there might be something there when it comes to Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay's record is 7-8, so they have a chance to finish at 8-8, which would definitely be an accomplishment when you look at what Bruce Arians was stepping into. What do you think about this one, Sean?
Yeah, I agree here. Both teams have been winning lately and are looking better. But I got to say, Tampa Bay will win at home here. It's a 50-50 game. But I love the fact that BA will be able to say, look, I was 8-8 with that guy.
Right.
So it's not my fault. You could have all the routes be comebacks, and Jameis would still overthrow it and get a pick. That's like the safest route you could throw, right, without getting picked off.
Yeah.
He's still going to overthrow it. So, yeah, a new quarterback for Tampa will really help next year.
Yeah, but a new quarterback, but who? It would have to be another. You know how Bruce Arians
RG3. I don't know. Pick somebody.
Bruce is going to find another veteran. He's not going to
Bridgewater.
He's not going to bring a young kid in there. He's going to find another one of those old veterans that's on it. I mean, don't be surprised he knock on Eli's door.
Fitzpatrick's coming back.
You can't
Don't be
knock
surprised
on
he
Eli.
knock on Eli or Rivers' door. This is Bruce Arians. He's not gonna sit and wait for no young kid.
Yeah, but you can't retread something that has no tread.
He did that with Carson.
Carson had a little bit of tread. left.
Carson the tread was almost gone,
He was playing in Oakland.
and they put some
He
change.
wasn't doing nothing.
That's where people went to.
Right.
die.
When he went to Oakland, it was like he done. And so Bruce put some chains on his tires, and
But there's no
boom.
snow.
But you look at it though,
Yeah.
they are a carbon copy of our 2013 minus a few wins.
But it's taking them much longer.
Longer, right?
It's
minus a
taking-
few
It's
wins.
taking Wednesday.
I mean,
It's
Carson
early.
threw pick after pick after pick.
First year was brutal.
Woo!
Picks
Yes,
on
indeed.
picks.
But I don't know. Jameis is a different dude though, so
He liked to eat the W's.
he like to eat them. L's.
All right, Chargers at Chiefs. I'm just curious to see how the Chiefs are gonna approach this game. How long will Mahomes play, and all of the heavy hitters there in the number 3 spot. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as they prepare for the playoffs. So what do you guys got on this one, Earl?
Chiefs have to win this game 62-0 or 60, whatever. They have to go in and just really blow them out because they need to get going themselves. They need a tuner to say, let's get feeling good going into this dang playoff run because their offense has not looked the same. People have figured them out.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Casey has to win this game, but for a different reason. Because if New England falls asleep and loses to Miami, which is laughable, but it happened last year.
Oh, it so did with
It
Drake.
did. If that does happen, Casey ensures that they would have a bye. So they got to win regardless. So I'm going Casey.
All right. And so Packers at Vikings. What do we got on this one? This is just
Packers at Lions.
Vikings. Packers at Lions. Sorry, Packers at Lions. So, do the Packers need to get into a rhythm? They've been winning just without Aaron Rodgers having to go crazy and score major points. So, what do you think about this one?
I'll start. The Lions have lost 8 straight. This is going to continue against a hungry Green Bay team who's looking to prove everything. They're looking to prove everything because they started off with a great defense. What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? Now Aaron Rodgers is great. What's up with the defense? Back and forth. Only 3 interceptions by Rodgers this year.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm going Green Bay.
Packers are not going to do anything different. They're going to say, this is our method. This is how we're going to win games. They don't need Aaron Rodgers to throw 40 passes. They don't need Aaron Rodgers to throw 5 touchdown passes. He has basically turned into a superstar manager of the game. I mean, just by what their offense is.
Right.
I mean, you got that cat that's running the ball behind and that's balling.
Right.
You hand and get that dude the ball. So, I mean, that's just how it goes in the
Don't let
playoffs.
pride come
If it ain't
before you
broke, don't
fall.
fix it.
Exactly. And you only lost 3 games all season long. Who would have thought that?
Basically.
And they win ugly, but they win.
Speaking of ugly, Bears
Oh.
at Vikings. The Bears, they got Trubisky. That's that dude right there.
Yeah, that's
Nope.
that's the number
Trubisky.
7,
So
6,
Bears
or
at
whatever
the
pick it
Vikings.
was.
As we stand right now, the Vikings, of course, they are in the playoffs. They're in that number 6 spot. So, so we're trying to see how this is going to shake out because, well, they'll definitely be in. It's either whether or not Philadelphia is going to remain in or if Dallas is going to take their spot. But Minnesota, they need to. I mean, when bad Kirk Cousins shows up, that dude, he shows out. So, what do you got on this one, Earl?
Yeah, they're just right there. Just need somebody to kick them over the edge. They're just going to be a one and done when it's time to play, when playoff time comes. I don't see anything. Well, if Dalvin Cook can get healthy, maybe they'll have a shot. But people know how to rattle Kirk. And once you figure that out and bring that same formula to the table that Green Bay did and everybody else did in big games, they're not ready yet. They're not ready. So, I mean, they'll win this game. The Bears, they'll beat the Bears, but playoffs, they're going to be 1 and out.
What you got, Sean?
Bears are staring down mediocrity while the Vikings need to erase the tough loss against Green Bay. Minnesota is going to win at home.
All right. And the last one as we head out of here, New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are heading to Gillette Stadium. Will the Patriots pull it out and be able to keep that bye? What you got on this one, Sean?
Last week I picked Buffalo to beat New England. Brady and company proved me wrong. They keep finding ways to get things done. I don't expect them to fall into the trap game here. New England wins handedly. No
They're
jokes
going to
about
win
it.
this game, and Belichick is going to go get Matt Castle to come out out of retirement to sit Brady down. He'll win this game with anybody back there.
Not Castle.
So that
Solid
wraps it
throwback.
up for week 17. We hope you've enjoyed it. We know that we like to keep that anticipation building, so that's why sometimes we say, not this week, and catch y'all next week.
Right.
So on behalf of our man that's not here, Ed Easy Smith, I am Javon Adams. That is Earl Casual E. Burnett. That is Sean McConnell. And this has been The Neutral Zone. And like we always like to say around this time,
We's gone.
And that's my trophy.
Oh.